Welcome to Neurotypical's Don't Juggle Chainsaws, the podcast that cuts through the rubbish to explore the world of neurodiversity. I'm your host, Nick King.
And I'm your host, Kate Fox. And together we're here to explore, understand, and celebrate being neurodivergent in a neurotypical world. From ADHD and autism to dyslexia and other quirky brains, we talk about it all.
And go off on tangents. So whether you're neurodivergent, love someone who is, or you're just curious about neurodivergent minds, you are in the right place.
Let's get ready to juggle some words and maybe even a few chainsaws, metaphorically, of course.
Hello and welcome to Neurotypicals Don't Juggle Chainsaws. That's the second time I've said that, because the first time I said neurodivergents don't juggle chainsaws, and that is not correct. I am Kate Fox, occasionally slippy of tongue and brain, and she is Nick King. Generally more, I would say, centred in tongue and brain. You put that on your CV.
Centred. I don't think that, no. I don't think that's an accurate representation, but okay.
However, when you are among the fluffy, lovely animals, then you are, and that is the topic of today's podcast. We are looking at therapy animals and animals as therapy. Lovely animals. And you've just got back, Nick, from a very lovely time with lovely animals. Tell us.
So I think the inspiration was, so we went to stay with some red pandas, which is an aside that we will get to. But on the way back, because that was quite far away, we stayed in the lakes and went to somewhere called Alpaca Ever After. Oh, no commission was paid. Not officially an advert. However, still recommend. And we went to walk some alpacas, as you do. And I found out that you can have therapy alpacas because alpacas become under the same rules as pets. So officially, you could have a pet therapy alpaca and take it on a bus. And I feel like that is just something we should do anyway.
Yes, I agree. More alpacas in public life generally. And so what was it when you interacted, you and your family, in fact, interacted with the alpacas? What made them therapeutic?
So essentially, the alpaca picked you to an extent. So they were all in the field and they shook a bucket, and anyone who wanted to walk came to the other little pen and said they could walk. And between us, so I had to walk with my youngest because she wasn't old enough to have their own alpaca. And we ended up with the one that liked to be in control, the one that had to lead everyone, and the one that was just a little bit naughty but clearly knew what he was doing, right? And my husband ended up with the very chill, very calm, absolutely no bother ex-therapy alpaca, which is how this conversation happened. And then my eldest ended up with the quite chill, but one that had almost died and been rescued and had a gammy eye and was just, I think he was called One-Eyed Willie or something like that. He had a name and a half, and that's the one that picked said. And I just sort of thought it was quite serendipitous that we all ended up with a completely appropriate alpaca to our personalities, for one. And then, this discovery that you can have a therapy alpaca, and that it is the same rules as a pet. In theory, I could go get one for my garden, sort out the grass.
Oh, yeah. Well, and when you say the same rules as a pet or therapy animal, so could you, for example, when people have, they have the little jackets that say emotional support animal, more in America still than here, and you were allowed to take them on aeroplanes as well.
Have a therapy alpaca on, yeah? I don't think you're getting away with that on Jet2 or something. I don't think. I don't think a budget airline's accommodating your therapy alpaca, no matter what paperwork you have for it.
They'd be like, well, for starters, we can't allocate the seat if you're not going to pay extra. So your alpaca's just going to end up where they end up. And then your alpaca might end up on the emergency exit seat. And they're like, okay, are you going to be able to use your hooves to open the door? Yeah, no,
And then
okay.
what happens to the inflatable slide with who?
Could get punctured quite easily, actually. Although that's ironic, really, because probably some people have really sharp fingernails as well, and nothing happens to them. But I think the alpaca would be, yeah, maybe not. What is it in the so when you were with them, when you were walking with your personality appropriate alpacas, what was the effect on you and your neurodivergent family?
I I think a lot of neurodivergent people just really appreciate being around animals. I know a lot of ND people who have either an official service dog or just, a highly well-trained dog. Um, I mean, personally, we have dog-sized cats. We have Maine Coons who are one of them is very large. Um, and they're really, I think, good at sort of helping with, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely something about animals reducing your anxiety.
Absolutely. Many studies have shown that even just stroking a pet can bring down your blood pressure, lower your heart rate, and generally improve kind of nervous system regulation.
It's like a warm weighted blanket with a purr function, you know?
Yes, 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 yeah. I mean, my in a way, so this is kind of sad that I haven't got a dog now, but I live on my own and it would just be too tiring. But and my ex-husband has our dog. My years with Norbert, the lovely spaniel, had a quality to them that has not really been replicated since. And he was such a lovely spaniel. He was the sort who would, well, he's still alive. He would people would stop him in the street and they would have these moments where they would gaze at each other. Basically, Norbert and a person in the street would temporarily fall in love, and there was kind of no commitment on either side. You see, people say that you can't have relationships with AI, but it's actually quite similar in a weird sort of way, in the sense of like it's just this moment. Anyway, they'd have these moments just bonding together with no expectations and then part. And I always did think he would be a lovely dog to take into hospitals and old people's homes and things like that. And for me to have that, it's partly it's unconditional love without expectations, I would say, as well as all the nice furry, strokey, walky elements. Yeah.
I would say it's non-judgmental, although I definitely have one cat that completely judges you on a regular interval. But we'll go with non-judgmental. I think, they're not gonna have necessarily, you're not necessarily gonna have a negative social interaction, are you? I mean, I know a lot of young people who are autistic who are scared of dogs, and I think a lot of young autistic people aren't scared of dogs, they're scared of sudden noise.
Ah, good point. Yeah, yes, yes, that
Because
makes sense.
I like dogs, but I like quiet dogs.
Ah, okay. No, of course. Yeah.
Random sudden loud noises is not my thing.
No.
Um,
For years, until we got Norbert, I would smile at dogs in the street. In fact, I still do. Like, I'm far more likely to smile at a dog than the owner. And then I think, oh, maybe I should remember to smile at the owner. But I'm not interested in the owner. I'm smiling at the dog because they're making me happy just by walking, especially little
you're
dogs.
not like a little human anymore where you can go up to them and be like, "Can I stroke your dog?"
Exactly.
Which is
Well,
what my life looks like.
yeah, well, no,
Ah,
I mean, I do that though. I
do
tell
you?
like, I don't need a little human for that. I do that. I do have many, but actually, so before Norbert though, I didn't know dog language. I hadn't learned it, although I had grown up at certain points with dogs. But I kind of, for whatever reason, hadn't learned dog language when they're being walked in the street. I suppose that is a different thing. But through being able to read Norbert and the many interactions that he had with other dogs, I was like, oh, I see, actually um, I could tell if they're wary, if their tail's standing up in a certain way. It's not just about waggy tails, although that is a good sign. And now I can read dog language. I feel confident in a way that I did not previously feel confident to know whether I can approach certain dogs or not. And also to actually, I'd forgotten this. When we first got Norbert, I read a lot of books about training your dog. but they were so helpful on the general rules of non-verbal language. I know not all people don't smell each other's bottoms in the street, for example. That's not a thing so much. Well, it's in some places, not in colour coats anyway. It's not how we go on here. But actually, I think it helped me attune to non-verbal language more generally, probably. Actually, I've not really realised that before. So is that
So
one of the? Oh, go
I
on.
was just thinking, like, sort of, yeah. I think it can give people a point of focus as well. You know, if you're not wanting to interact with the other human beings, you can interact and talk about the animal as sort of like a shared point of focus, can't you? And I think that's helpful.
That helps many an awkward family situation, doesn't it? In all types of families, where they're only talking. I mean, to be honest, they're happy if they're doing it and talking about a dog, but it's quite boring when the only point of focus is then a toddler and you're only talking about that because you're avoiding talking about how half your family hasn't talked to the other family for 27 years and someone's just had an affair with a pizza chef or whatever it is. But yes,
That was very specific, Kate.
I honestly made it up, but yeah, it was very, very specific. Um, there's also equine therapy is quite a big thing, isn't it? With all sorts of people, but autistic people kind of get and because I gather, I mean, I'm quite scared of horses, but I horses read people really well, don't they? And apparently respond if your nervous system is calm, they will happily come towards you and
I think some of us are naturally very good with animals. I'm never going to separate out autism ever because I'm inherently against it. But Dr. Dolittle autism exists.
Ah, yeah. Okay, so say more, because how and why? Because I do think I've learned, I think I am a bit of a Dr. Dolittle with dogs now. Like dogs know generally, like they will come to me, they're like, oh, yeah, she can speak our language a bit. But I don't think horses and squirrels and stuff do.
I think, to be honest, I'm thinking of my youngest when I say this because she can literally just approach any animal, even ones. There's one in our local farm, and it's a llama that has a horrific reputation, like has severe anger problems, and like even that, she'll just approach it and they'll be chill with it. And I'm like, what is going on? This is a cross animal. And there's a horse at the back of us that again has a really, really bad reputation for its behavior. And again, sees her and they're just fine. And I'm like, it's quite odd. And she is not a chill human being. Like she's not.
Although you have said that she is quite fearless. I wonder if that is part of it. Like she's approaching with a completely open system, completely open to them, and not with a sense of trepidation at all.
No, not even in the slightest. And yeah, just very quick bonding as well. It's I find it interesting. I
Mm.
think so they recently went up to the place that does my social media and edits this podcast and they have dogs. And you liked that they had dogs when you went up there.
Oh,
You
I was like,
this is the best bit
yay!
about this. Sorry, social media team, we love you really.
Oh yeah,
But
love you.
about the
But
dog.
it was, and also the radio was on, and it was quite a noisy office. Whereas there were just lovely dogs to simply interact with. It was very simultaneously calming and energizing. Yeah, more dogs in the workplace, please.
And yeah, I did taking my kids to work the other day because it was the school holidays, and I was like, yeah, dogs, they'll play with the dogs, it'll be fine.
Love what you're hearing, want to interact with us, want to show your support, you can do all of that via our website, Neurotypicals Don't Juggle Chainsaws, where you can leave us a comment, you can send us an email, or you can leave a little tip via our PayPal link. And we appreciate all your interaction, support, and love.
I know a lot of young people who have animal-based therapies as part of like if they have an EOTAS package, if they have an education outside of school package. Um, there's an equine place near us, there's a small farm place that near us, and there's a lot of skills there, isn't there? I know a lot of ND adults who talk about struggling to feed themselves, but they'll never forget to feed their pet.
Mm, mm.
I mean, partially because I don't know. a personal experience with cats, but they won't let you forget that situation. They will stand on your face.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And actually, talk about being completely in touch with your own bodily needs, which animals mostly are, and completely in the moment, which is also both things are really powerful if you struggle with those things, and then you kind of get it modelled by a animal. I could definitely write one of those sort of books about Norbert, about, how he connected me with my alexithymic self. However, the trouble with those books, the trouble with those books about the lovely animals, like when there's the lovely pet owl and the pet hawk and the pet penguin and the pet seal and the pet dog and the pet octopus, they die. They die at the end. That is very sad. Far more sad to watch an animal die in a film, to the point than, humans and stuff. There's actually a website, I believe, called something like Does the Dog Die? And it kind of warns you if there is a film or a TV program where the dog dies. Because if I think that the dog is going to die, I'm unlikely to watch.
Watch. It was
Yeah.
we had a new episode of Doctor Who the other week, and in the first sort of 5 minutes, was it a cat bought it?
Yes.
And I had a hysterical young person. The future 5, 10, however many deaths it was of the human beings, not a problem. The cat, that was the issue.
Yeah, that was quite a bold move actually by Doctor Who. They were a bit casual about that, I thought.
Bit casual about the cat.
Yes, I think a lot of
I
their
needed a warning.
yes, yes, exactly. Exactly.
It's the thing as well, if I'm thinking about theatre, I would worry more about upsetting animal scenes than I would about human ones.
Yeah, yeah. I presume, I mean, I've never seen it in, oh, hang on, this is a spoiler then if you know the answer. In Warhorse, is it fine? Is the horse that, I mean, there's war or not?
Oh no, the warhorse is not okay. And
Oh,
those
right.
puppets, oh my God. I've never been as upset about a puppet. I mean, I don't know what it's made of, but it's not a horse. And like,
Oh,
and I
hang
would
on.
never, I mean, I think my youngest is probably too young for warhorse anyway, but like, no, never, never, ever. And I think there was someone else did it as well. The Animal Farm puppet situation, that was distressing. And I don't know why I wasn't that upset by Life of Pi as much. Maybe because I knew it was kind of like a metaphor.
Ah,
Um,
yeah, so
like
it felt
because I
less.
knew the ending before.
Right,
Yes,
yeah.
the ending. But yeah, but those puppets, like in Warhorse and Life, yeah,
Oh.
emotionally involved.
I'm not. I did. Oh, well, yeah. Okay. I would prefer not to see that. Actually, this is ironic. I don't know if this podcast will go out before or after one we have recorded about death, but I'm definitely hearing a lot more trauma from you around the death of fictional animals than I was about any humans at any point.
That's
Yeah,
the one.
yeah. And actually, also from oh, yeah, no, not the dog dying. Although, but then there are happy stories like The Incredible Journey. Oh, I loved, because is this a spoiler? I think it's fine. It was out about 50 years ago. They return home. Oh, thank goodness for that. But I do read those books where someone adopts a pet. Oh, I love them. An owl, you know, penguin, etc., etc. It's just, I definitely have fantasies of. So I don't actually want the day-to-day responsibility, to be fair, of caring for a pet or being tied to one on my own. That's why I need to get another human relationship at some point so I can have a pet. But if I was ever in prison, that's a little fantasy. Imagine I did a Quaker protest, something really worthwhile, and then I went into a prison, but a really nice prison with a writing desk and not terrible things happening in a shower. And then there would be a pet mouse, and I would adopt the mouse, and it would be my little mouse, and it would make my time in prison bearable.
That again is very specific.
It It is, isn't it? I believe it's what they say, call manifesting things. So if
Let's
I'm
not manifest you being in prison. It's going to be really hard to record a podcast from prison. Let's just not do that.
okay.
No prisons for you. Um, I think, I mean, you can't. One of back in the day, right? And I think that I can still probably dig out an old newspaper article about this. But back in the day, one of my neighbours on this street used to have a pet fox, Kate Fox. He had a
Oh,
pet fox that was trained.
oh. I train, yeah, well, because you can train pet foxes. There was actually an experiment in, I believe, Russia at one point, and it was kind of a fox farm to see how long it took to domesticate foxes. And they found it took longer than dogs, but actually it wasn't impossible, obviously, as your neighbour proved, and can be done. The main disadvantage, though, do you know, it's the smell. They are very, very smelly because they need to put scent on things for their kind of mating purposes. So their poo and their scent is like very smelly. Where did they keep the pet fox?
I think sort of within their home in their garden, a bit sort of like a cat dog situation.
Ooh,
Yeah.
well, maybe post-COVID times where some people's sense of smell has never come back. On the positive side, this opens the door for them to get a pet fox. Um, I mean, I do like to think because of my surname that I've got a unique relationship with foxes and that maybe we stare into each other's eyes and recognise the wild animal in each other. But I've actually only once seen a fox kind of at any closeness and I don't know if we were staring into each other's eyes because I was busy taking a photograph. So maybe that happened.
I
Did you
could get a
know?
pet panda.
Oh, but yes. Well, you've just been to see red pandas,
I know,
haven't
but they're
you?
not a panda. In fact, they're nearer a raccoon.
Oh,
True. Yes, a proper pet panda. I've got this really vivid memory of my grandparents, and this would have been the early 90s maybe, coming back from China telling me how they'd hugged a baby panda
ah.
because that was like a tourist thing that you could do.
Oh, which is probably bad for pandas, isn't
Probably was a very bad idea, and I would like to very much clarify it was the 90s. Um, but yeah, I have this very vivid memory of them talking about it in a video about it. But
it?
no pet pandas for me. However, the red pandas were good. I enjoyed the red pandas.
And what did they? Because you stayed quite close to them, didn't you?
Yeah, so there's a place, again, I should definitely get commission paid for this one. This place is expensive. Don't go like Google. It's a lot, people. So you can go stay with the animals at West Midland Safari in lodges that are essentially in on their enclosure. And it's very intimate and they're very close. And historically, last year we stayed with the lions um, for my youngest's birthday, and this year my eldest wanted to stay with the red pandas. I tell you what was interesting though, because we've been down to that place a couple of times, and the red pandas are incredibly difficult to see from like the zoo type perspective. Um, and part of the reason for that I learned after I stayed with them is that they don't like people. There's one of them, he was all right with people-ish, but obviously they sleep quite a lot of hours of the day. But there's actually two in there, and he doesn't come out unless the zoo is shut or he's being fed. And that's it.
Very
And he's
wise.
fed at 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. and they're cleaned out at 12. And yeah, that's it. Otherwise, he is staying in his house and he is not interacting with anyone. And he's actually a little bit anxious. And yeah, and he was actually really quite cool. And I had a very strange moment with him at 1 a.m. when I woke up in the middle of the night. And because it was nice and it was clear and there were stars, I thought I will go outside and see what the red pandas are up to. And he was asleep on his roof and he looked at me like, "What are you doing out here in my space?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, maybe." I mean, I thought I'd have a look out. He was like, "Yeah, you can go back in there. Thank you."
But
Sorry, panda.
that is the thing, isn't it? I've read like most animals, the reaction they're going to give you, it's not a socially performed reaction, is it? It's a very accurate representation of how they are feeling at any given moment. They're not performing, well, I suppose unless they're a performing seal, bear, monkey, but you know what I mean. They're not performing socially, and there's something really powerful about that. Oh, which is maybe why I'm, because I do think that it could be in the diagnostic criteria for autism, particularly liking octopuses or feeling an identity with them. I don't know how I mean, I would love to meet an octopus and interact and like we have this special moment, but also how would I actually feel about slimy tentacles on me and all those lots of tentacles and the suckers and don't
Have you
there's
ever done that? Have you ever done like an animal feeding thing?
I did for a birthday actually once. My ex-husband, this was the best present he ever got me, I would say, um, took me to a wild bird
Yeah, yeah.
sanctuary and we did for owls. It was owls because I wanted to meet a baby owl. You know the little owls, and they're just called little owls. Oh, and so I held little owls. There's a picture of me with a little owl in like in either hand. Oh, their big eyes. I'd forgotten that. They were so fluffy and lovely, and probably other bits and bobs. And that's making me think a bit about my autistic friend who has a fantasy, I think still unfulfilled. She needs to crack on with it. Crack on, Angela. Like, we're getting on. It's very specific. She wants to feed an elephant a bun. And I think
Okay.
she can imagine, and I can imagine how it would feel. You know, the feel of the trunk, and it's reaching down, and it's kind of all soft and but also kind of a bit slurpy, and it's taking the bun. So I think she needs to make that happen, actually, doesn't she? So
Sure, there's plenty places, even in the UK, where you can go and
feed
feed
an
an
elephant a
elephant.
bun. Maybe not. Well, nowadays they'd be like, you can only feed an elephant a macrobiotic diet of protein and live maggots or something like that. But yeah, I think buns and elephants, it's more an 80s thing, and it's like white dog poo. It's just a thing you don't hear about anymore. Those were the days. I imagine, just as a final note, I was going to say, possibly it's possible to, as a neurodivergent person, get into trouble if you're wishing to be too close to the animals. Maybe imagine most people who were, I don't know, eaten by polar bears and stuff. Possibly someone who optimistically was thinking, me and the polar bears, we're just going to click, just going to get on like that. And the polar
No,
bear's like,
they're gonna eat
yeah.
my face. This is the thing though, like at this same sort of safari thing, you can drive round it. And big cute cuddly cats, don't put your window down. Just because there's cute and fluffy friendship does not mean they're not gonna eat you.
No,
Not everything can be a therapy animal.
that's a very
Unless you're the Lion King. That was a COVID thing. You got that
yeah.
in a flashback.
Well, it's a very responsible note for us to end on. Many animals can lower your nervous system and blood pressure, increase your connection to the world and all the beings in it. And some of them can eat you.
Thanks for tuning in to Neurotypicals Don't Juggle Chainsaws. We're so glad you joined us today to explore the fascinating world of neurodivergence with your hosts, me, Nick King.
And me, Kate Fox. If our conversation sparked a thought, a question, or even a smile, don't keep it to yourself. Drop us a line at hello@neurotypicalsdon'tjugglechainsaws.co.uk or visit our website neurotypicalsdon'tjugglechainsaws.co.uk to write in. We'd love to hear from you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, consider leaving us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast platform.
Until next time, keep embracing the unique ways you juggle the chainsaws of life.